Yeah. Shalom. I'm Rabbi Josh Caruso from Anshe Chesed Fairmount Temple. It's my honor to be here today and pay tribute to Shirley Brody. Zichrona livracha. In the words of Ecclesiastes, a season is set for everything, a time for every experience under heaven, a time for dancing and a time for wailing, a time for birthing and a time for dying, a time for speaking and a time for silence, a time for seeking and a time for losing. The time of mourning is a complicated time filled with many emotions and memories, both bitter and sweet. We begin our service with the recitation of psalms and prayers, thus linking Shirley's life with the 3,000-year-old tradition of the people Israel and the eternity of God. I invite you to join with me in the recitation of Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. After a while, you learn the subtle difference between holding a hand and chaining a soul. And you learn that love doesn't mean leaning, and that company doesn't always mean security. You learn that kisses aren't contracts and presents aren't promises. You begin to accept your defeats with your head up and your eyes straight ahead, with the grace of a woman or a man, not the grief of a child. You learn to build all your roads on today because tomorrow's ground is too uncertain for plans, and futures have a way of falling down in mid-flight. After a while, you learn that even sunshine burns if you bask too much. So you plant your own garden and decorate your own soul instead of waiting for someone to bring you flowers. And you learn that you really can endure, that you really are strong, that you really have worth. And you learn, and you learn. With every goodbye, you learn. Dear God, this day be with us. Wrap us in your presence like a blanket. Comfort our souls. May this grieving family find solace in the love they share, in the devotion of friends and family, and the knowledge of your sheltering presence. God, console us all in the faith that surely lives on among us, in every family celebration, in each of our memories, in her devotion to friends and family. Shomea tefillot, dear God, hear our prayers. Find favor in our dear one, beloved wife, mother, grandmother, great-grandmother, so cherished and admired. Shower your presence upon her. May she be welcomed into your presence, O God, forevermore. And we say, Amen. I know Shirley's granddaughter, Nina, would like to share a few words on behalf of the family.
Hi, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Nina, Shirley's youngest grandchild. My grandparents were a constant in my life. While most kids at sporting events, prom photos, and college performances had their parents there to support them, for me, there was always my mom and dad, but right there with my mom were Shirley and Sanford. My grandma loved her trips to the beauty parlor and took me with her for multiple manicures and even to get highlights to my hair. Grandma took me to get my ears pierced and helped find a spot that would let her approve the piercing, considering she wasn't my mom or my guardian. Grandma was a great cook and would not only cook for family dinners, but when I had to host my cheerleading squad before a game, for a home-cooked meal, Grandma came to the rescue because my mom did not inherit her skills in the kitchen. I loved to visit my grandparents during their annual trips to Florida, where Grandma and I would wander the flea markets looking for the best deals and unique gifts to bring back home. She also let me learn to drive in her beloved Toyota Avalon, who she affectionately referred to as Daisy. My grandma loved me and her grandchildren and her family with everything she had. I was her Shayna Madela, and while I'm sad she's gone, I feel incredibly lucky to have had her as such a big part of growing up. I love you, Grandma.
Thank you, Nina. It is a fearful thing to love what death can touch. A fearful thing to love, hope, dream, to be, and oh, to lose. A thing for fools this, and a holy thing to love. For your life has lived in me, your laugh once lifted me, your word was gift to me. To remember this brings a painful joy. 'Tis a human thing, love, a holy thing, to love what death has touched. Today we pay loving tribute to Shirley Brody, who will be remembered for many things, not least of which was her wonderful, outgoing personality. It is only fitting that Shirley loved the Yiddish language and even took Yiddish lessons as a senior citizen. With respect to her love of language, I'd like to share some Yiddish words and phrases that best capture Shirley. The first one, balabusta. Balabusta means someone who loves to bring family together by cooking and caring for them. Indeed, Shirley relished her role as a balabusta. Food was love, and she made so many delights that brought joy to her family and community. She made chopped liver from scratch, with schmaltz, of course, and even had a tradition of packaging it in containers for friends. She made tasty sponge cakes for Passover, chicken soup, noodle kugel, potato kugel all year round. She'd send Sanford and the kids to Brown's games with prepared salami sandwiches and other treats. It was food that allowed her to express her love, which conveyed more than any words could share. Ein Altfreund ist besser wie zwei neue. One old friend is better than two new ones. Shirley and Sanford regularly play cards and games with friends and couples on Saturday night. The kids told me that part of their job was setting up the rooms with the food and putting it out, but once the adults arrived, you had to get out. You couldn't be there. But those relationships endured throughout the years, and is what kept Shirley buoyant and engaged in life. Chutzpah. Someone with self-confidence, boldness, even audacity. She didn't lack that sometimes. Matthew likes to tell the story that Shirley would always ask him when he was going to get married. Maybe a little yenta thrown in. Somewhat forgetful, she would even ask him after his wedding day to Melissa, a day that I remember very well because I officiated. But she did it in a loving way, always caring about him. In fact, Matthew had said that truly he had a special relationship with his grandma. She was his protector and would stick up for him if she felt he was treated unfairly. All right, Nina, Shayna Madela. That means beautiful girl, and that was what she called her granddaughter. Nina and Beth recall how they gave Shirley incentive to take a trip to New York City with them if she would be a good and compliant patient after knee replacement surgery, something that it was very hard for her to do in her stubbornness. She obliged, and the three had a wonderful time shopping and frolicking through the city. Nina remembers accompanying her grandma also back home to the workplace and placing herself strategically underneath her desk at the dentist's office. Ilex Teppel gefind sich sein Deckel. Every pot finds its own lid. Shirley and Sanford were gifted with 69 years of marriage. The pot found its lid. Here's a bit of what I shared at Sanford's eulogy. Sanford took his role as the caretaker of his family very seriously. Shirley related that he always watched out for me. He took care of her and loved her deeply from the first time they met, when Shirley noticed his cool car. They soon married at Park Lane Villa. And even though he was never a wealthy man, he made his family feel like they were. They were wealthy with his constant generosity of heart and spirit. And Sanford was well aware of the person he married. His advice to a groom who was about to marry a bride: just do whatever your wife says. And this was logical in many respects. Shirley was smart. She skipped a grade in elementary school, was a quick study, could speak quickly, could contend. She was stubborn. She was also put together. She always had her nails and lipstick done. As das Herz is full, gehen die Augen über. When the heart is full, the eyes overflow. Today our hearts overflow with love for Shirley, one of a kind, a giving parent. She was a parent and mom to Mindy, Beth, and Scott, and Rana. Devoted grandmother to Joshua and Jennifer, Rachel and Adam, Matthew and Melissa, and Nina, great-grandmother of Elliot Cohn. Scott reflected on his mother's decline, knowing that it was surely time for her to make the aliyah, the ascent, to Olam Haba, to the inner Welt, to the next world. Scott squeezed her hand and told her, "Mom, go be with Dad." With the recognition that she had lived a long and blessed life, Shirley passed just days later. Scott, you gave her permission. You shared your love, and I'm sure she felt it. She truly leaves a legacy of generations that will continue to honor her name and memory by living their lives fully. Zichrona livracha. May Shirley's memory be a blessing, and let us say, Amen.
Amen.
I'm going to ask everyone just to take a few moments as we consider Shirley's life and the piece of the puzzle that she brought to each one of us. Now we invite you to rise as you are able for the chanting of Damalei Rachamim, the memorial prayer. El Malei Rachamim, Shochein Bamromim, Hamsei Menucha Nechona, Tachat Kanfei HaShechina, במעלות קדושים מודרים, גזר רקיע מזהירים, את נשמת שיינדל בת מנדל ורבקה, שהלכה לעולמה, בגן עדן תהי מנוחתה. אנא בעל הרחמים, הסתיריה בסתר כנפיך לעולמים, וצרור בצרור החיים את נשמתה, אדוני ונחלתה, ותנוח בשלום על משכבה, ונאמר Amen. El Malei Rachamim, exalted, compassionate God, Grant infinite rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and the pure, to the soul of Shirley Brody, who has gone to her eternal home. Merciful One, we ask that our loved one find perfect peace in your eternal embrace. May her soul be bound up in the bond of life. May she rest in peace. And let us say, Amen. Amen.
Love you. Say hi to Dad for me.
Sun came out.
Yep, the sun came out.
Just in time, huh?
She would have complained. My mother. And no rain.
She would have complained about the sun.
Yeah, she would have
complained if it hadn't come out.
Oh, it had.
I guess she complained enough that God went and brought this one out.
What?
He listened to it. You had to. At the end of the day. He couldn't. Oh, good.
No. The Robbins family. My dad, leave me alone, Shirley.
He started already?
Yeah, it's probably started. Oh,
What we're talking about.
okay.
Spoke to the girl that had the guest book now. When she went in.
Okay, Shirley, okay. That's enough.
We will continue with the Kaddish praise. We think about Shirley. We share the Kaddish. We think about Sanford as well, as their memories are both a blessing. Yit Gadal v'Yit Shemei Rabbah Be'alma Divra Chirutei V'Amlik Malchutei B'Chayechon U'Vyomechon U'V'Chayei Dechol Beit Yisrael Ba'Gala U'Vizman Kari V'Yimru Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah Mevorach Le'olam Lomei Omaya Yitbarach V'Yishtabach V'Yitpa'ar V'Yitromam V'Yitnaseh V'yitadar, v'yitalev, v'yitalal, shemei kudesha, richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran be'alma v'imru. Yehei shalama rabba min shamaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Oseh shalom b'mroma, u'yaseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. May the source of peace and peace to all who mourn, comfort to all who are bereaved among us, and we say together, Amen. At this sacred time and place, we'd like to invite family members to participate in the filling in of the earth. For those uninitiated with Judaism, of course, it can appear to be disrespectful to put soil in the grave of our loved one, but in Judaism it's hahefech, it's the opposite. In Judaism we do that to give back, and because Shirley cannot take care of herself and cannot protect herself and cannot cover herself through modesty, we do this job. We contribute and take care of her, and it's considered one of the greatest mitzvot. The greatest mitzvahs is kavod hamet, to take care of a loved one because we don't receive anything in return for doing this mitzvah. So we invite family members to partake of this mitzvah, and then afterwards, anyone else who wants to join can do so as well.